Hi guys, it's Debbie. Now, depending on how long you've known me for, you might be familiar with the fact that I love the old Men in Black films, especially the first one. I've watched it and rewatched it countless times. I enjoy every part of it, the dialogues, the acting, the whole concept. I find it a very amusing take on the science fiction genre that boomed in the decade prior to its release. It has a similar approach to what Back to the Future had to science and time travelling. Then there was this 2019 release, and I was a bit concerned because the trailer looked nothing like I wanted it to be, and I just had a gut feeling it would never be able to live up to the previous chapters. And it didn't, but I guess that's not the point. I think that it feels like 20 years later, films have to be louder, brighter, packed with easier action. I think because there is so much to choose between, so many options out there. But let's not rush everything. Let's get to everything step by step. Also, remember that in the description box below, you can find the link to the shop where I get nearly all the t-shirts I wear in my videos, like the one I'm wearing today. They're all based on films, TV series, pop culture in general, on all sorts of tops and bags and socks and posters in hundreds of different designs. Just check the link down below. Now, getting back to Men in Black. The concept of the Men in Black saga is that aliens live amongst us. Some of them carry out normal lives disguised as humans, while others reach Earth illegally in order to commit crimes, usually to destroy humanity. The Men in Black agency basically regulates alien life on planet Earth. The aliens' arrival, their departure, their security, and the agents also make sure that humans are never aware of all of this happening. They are kept oblivious to the whole situation. In the older chapters, the main characters were portrayed by Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones, who were given the names of Agent J and Agent K. In this new film, the protagonists are Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson as agents H and M, I'm trying to get all the names straight, who are assigned a series of tasks which eventually lead them to locations all over the world, hence the title Men in Black International. The cast also includes some of the older actors in their veteran roles, such as Agent O and Frank the Pug, who are the well-known figures in the franchise. The winning element, which I think appeased so many people with the first films, in addition to the background story, was the conception of the characters. The two main figures presented a very strong chemistry, although based on a rather rocky relationship and divergent personalities, and nearly all of the lines were very cleverly thought out, punctuated with witty jokes or deadpan stares. This set up some character features which kept us happily engaged throughout the whole film, and kept us excited for the future movies. Viewers become affectionate to characters who have very particular features, especially if they are enjoyable. You will always want to hear Ron Weasley come up with one of his jokes in the Harry Potter films, or Dustin saying something funny in Stranger Things, or Marty McFly and Doc discussing in Back to the Future. And this is also one of the reasons why people were so skeptical about this new release. But in the end, the concept of clever and funny dialogues and a strong character build-up was carried further on in the international chapter, as both Chris Hemsworth and Tessa Thompson worked hard on recreating that effect. It was of course nowhere near to the previous films, but I really appreciate that effort that was put into keeping that spirit alive. While Will Smith was a goofy, funny, somewhat unprofessional agent, and Tommy Lee Jones a serious, hard-working agent devoted to the bureau, this time around the protagonists have other features, but always on opposite ends of the spectrum and very stereotyped. Thompson's character is the stereotyped role that ticks all the boxes on the strong, independent woman chart. She even complains because the agency is called Men in Black, while Hemsworth's agent is very loud, funny. He is played off as the more experienced but senseless character. And while I'm on the topic of Hemsworth, I just wanted to point out my feeling that he has always been shoved into the beautiful Hulk category and has often been overlooked on a professional acting level. So yes, we see him in big films, take Avengers, but most people, let's say, wouldn't expect to see him as a lead role in an Oscar-winning drama, if you see what I mean. But I've always thought of him as a rather good actor. He just went through the same box classifying process as other talented actors such as Zac Efron. So further to the acting, the real problem with the film was the background story, the actual plot, because it was nowhere even close to the other movies, and even if we analyse the film as separate from the others, it still wasn't really engaging or particularly meaningful. When the first films came out, a large portion of the story was dedicated to the characters, Will Smith's in particular, being amazed, concerned, disturbed, confused upon discovering this reality, this huge lie about aliens on planet Earth. It's not a discovery in a 2001 Space Odyssey style, but still he spends, what was it, a whole night sitting on a bench considering whether he should take the job or not. Whereas International just opens with the already affirmed idea that just aliens are amongst us. The discovery part about the agency, which was what set up most of the humour in the first films, was just relegated here to a couple of minutes of when Agent M is getting suited up. And the few funny moments, such as the recurring gag of celebrities being aliens, was in the end just altered from previous scenes in the other films. I don't know if this is because at the time of the first film the actual alien slash space slash sci-fi genre was really popular, while in the moment it's not as prevailing, if not for the Star Wars films. And it could also be due to the idea of, how to put it, younger generations not be impressed by anything anymore. But for whatever reason it was, most of the plot ended up just revolving around big action scenes, whereas I would have preferred some more time for Hemsworth and Thompson to express themselves, because as it stands, it was enjoyable but very forgettable. I can probably remember maybe one quote from the film. So all in all, the production obviously made a big effort into creating something which was a homage, a continuation of the previous films, but which ended up only being with the character development, not with the rest of the story. But what do you think about Men in Black International? Have you seen it? Are you planning on watching it? Let me know everything with a comment down below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to subscribe, and I'll see you soon. Bye.